Hey guys, my name is Lana. Welcome back to my channel. I saw a video on Connie's channel that I really liked the idea of and I decided to try it as well. A lot of people do the type of video where they look at their Goodreads accounts, the books that they've read, and they look at the highest rated books and the lowest rated books, and this video specifically looks at the least rated books. So I'll be looking at books that I have read and put on my Goodreads account and that have the least amount of ratings. I really want other people to do this kind of video, and I think it's so interesting because you get to see the very specific niche books that each one of us enjoys that most people have probably never heard of. I've not checked Goodreads even though I really wanted to. My prediction is that it's going to be a lot of plays because plays don't really get a lot of Goodreads love and I've had to read a bunch of them for school, for work. Let's see. Okay, so I'm actually going to skip over all the graphic novels that are coming up because the first book that comes up is The Scarlet Letter, and it is a popular book, but the edition that I read is from a Russian publication and it's not well read. Oh, it's not very well known, so we're skipping that one. Alone but Not Lonely, Reclaim Your Identity and Be Unapologetically You. This is a special book for me. This is a book that's written by my very best friend's mom. I was actually sent it by her to review. So in this book, Robin talks about the story of her life, how she got lost in the expectations of her life, the job, the children, the everyday, and how eventually she learned to find her own voice, and she made it her life's mission to help other people, other women get inspired and be creative and be unapologetically themselves. As I said, it's a very special book for me. Definitely more people need to read it. Then I have two plays. The first one is Maids of Honor by Joan Casademont. We did a scene from this play and I have a lot of feelings and memories connected to that scene at that time. It's about a family. It's about three sisters and one of them is getting married and things happen. You know, it's a good play. It's just my personal experience with the scene from this play was not the best. Then I have Of Good Stock by Melissa Ross is another one that I did. It's very hard separating the actual work, the play, from my experience of it, but this is a great story, another one about three sisters, but it's very different in tone from Maids of Honor. Next is Ethics by Stanislavski. This is an essay that I actually had to read like 2 weeks ago for the acting class that I'm in right now. As I said, it's an essay by Stanislavski. It's pretty short, where he talks about, well, yeah, the ethics of theater. It's a little ranty and it goes all over the place, and I didn't really enjoy it. There's definitely parts where he's very salty. There are topics that he touches upon that you can just feel that like he has a lot of rage about. There's a big rant about, you know, the creatives, the actors and directors against the administration of theaters and how the administration doesn't really care enough about the actors, even though they are the ones who are creating the theater that the administrative staff are trying to promote. Then I have one of my favorite plays, The Dazzle by Richard Greenberg. This is such a difficult play to even try and explain, but it's a little out there and there are so many twists and turns. It's never what you expect it to be, and there is one scene that just ripped my heart out. I've never actually seen this play, and I never, you know, I didn't do any scenes from it, but I read it when I was looking for other scenes that I could do, and It was just incredible. I actually wanted to reread it, and I one day want to see it on stage so badly. It's about two brothers who live in this big house that they inherited. Their family was very rich and the house is very opulent, but it's in disrepair, and the way it's described, I mean, it's a play, it doesn't really get described much, but like the atmosphere that I got and what I was picturing when I was reading is this almost, you know, abandoned, haunted mansion, and they live there, and there's this woman that comes in, and it's, you know, it's also about family. It's about not wanting to confront the big troubles in our life that have to be dealt with, that have to be, you know, looked at, and we don't do that, and what happens when we don't do it. It's just a very atmospheric play, and as I said, there's that one scene that just I told you this is all going to be plays. Next up is Tiny Beautiful Things, which is adapted for the stage by Nia Vardalos. It's based on the book by Cheryl Strayed, which is also called Tiny Beautiful Things, which I recommend so hard. It's, after reading this play, I actually gave it to my roommate and she gave it to her boyfriend, and I don't even know where that book is now because it just traveled from person to person because it's so incredible, and when you read it you just want to show someone else and you want to share that. And actually after reading this I got the actual original book by Cheryl Strayed, Tiny Beautiful Things, and I really want to reread it. It's a book that will break you apart and heal you, and you will feel hugged for the very first time. I don't know how else to describe it. It is absolutely incredible. You know, if you know nothing about Tiny Beautiful Things, Cheryl Strayed from 2010 to 2012, she was online as Sugar, and she was anonymously replying to people's letters. It was like an advice column online, and she would answer them, and she published some of those letters and her answers in Tiny Beautiful Things. The book is very easy to read because it's literally letter and answer, and the letters themselves are heartbreaking and sometimes very funny. I can't even explain to you how many times I cried and laughed, and like there are moments when you read the letter and you sort of expect her to say certain things and react to it in a certain way, but then she doesn't, and sometimes she's a devil's advocate and she does not at all say what the person expects her to say. Cheryl Strayed herself, she shares a lot of her life within these answers. She had a lot of trauma in her life, in her childhood and in her relationships, and when she answers, she, you know, she opens up her heart and she like gives her all, and there's so much love in that book, and as I said, you feel hugged. I can't even talk about it anymore. I'm going to cry. The play is pretty much the same thing, only much shorter, and it was adapted for the stage, so there are stage directions, and the letters have been edited, and it's a little different, but my god, read it. Next up, I have a book by Takashi Tsukiyama, and it was not translated into English, which I did not know. So let me do a very bad translation for you of the title. It says, How to Forgetting 15 Easy Habits to Stop Looking for the Keys All Over the Apartment. It's written by a Japanese neuroscientist, and he basically, you know, it's a very short book. It talks about why we forget, how we forget, what can we do to not forget as much, because I've mentioned before, I have a terrible memory. I don't know what to do with it. There are some stories that he shares about his clients that are shocking and were so interesting, and I mean, if you speak Japanese or Russian, read this book. How many books have I mentioned? So So next up, there's another play. This is The When We Were Young and Unafraid by Sarah Treem. This one focuses on 4 different women and the hardships of being a woman. It's actually been a while since I read this, so I'm looking at the reviews and I really like this one. Through 4 characters, all from different decades, we're shown how women's options have and haven't changed, the choices made in the face of those limitations and possibilities, and how terrifying change can be, even if the risk pales in comparison to the potential benefit. And yeah, there's a young teenage woman who is exploring first love, a harbor of battered women trying to manage day-to-day life, a runaway wife seeking shelter after an abusive relationship. Next up is another play. I hope this is interesting. It's called Blue Surge by Rebecca Gilman. Again, I don't remember the plot very well, but I very much remember me in it and what it was like and the people that I worked with. It was fun. There's the main character Kurt, who is a small town cop in the Midwest, and there is Sandy, a 19-year-old prostitute he first tries to arrest, then attempts to help at the cost of his badge. And I think I played his fiance or wife? No, I think it was fiance or girlfriend. I remember we had a big fight scene. The last one, the 10th book of all of these, is Letting Go by Kat Clark. It's a young adult novella that features LGBT characters that I didn't really enjoy. I mean, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it, I just felt like about it. So this is a story about Agnes, who a year ago made a promise to her girlfriend Ellie that she will accompany her and climb this mountain in remembrance of her mom that passed away. After that, they broke up, but she's still fulfilling her promise, and she, Ellie, and her boyfriend are all traveling together and climbing this mountain in terrible weather and dealing with all the feelings that are coming up. There are all these underlying emotional stories that are just not getting enough time on the page. I mean, I don't even remember how it ended. So this were the 10 books that are the least rated, the least read on my Goodreads account, and I really thought this would be way more entertaining. But I mean, I was right, it was mostly all plays. When I watched this video on Coney Reed's channel, she had a lot of books on history and historical costume and all these like very niche books that really, you know, show what her interests are, and apparently all my interests are theater. Sometimes on BookTube it feels like everyone is talking about the same books, and I think this is a very cool idea to sort of see what the niche interests of different people are. So I'm very, very interested to see other people do this. Please do this. I want to see that video. Anyway, this is it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.